Brilliance Audio presents Someone Else's Secret by Julia Spiro, performed by Brittany Presley. Years later, it was the image of the lighthouse, its bowed face rising up from the dunes like a tree with roots stretching to the center of the earth, and its unassuming flicker of light against the night that burned brightest in her memory. She remembered other things too, but they had become blurrier. The tickle of the beach grass against her legs, the way the fog had wrapped around her body, feeling cold, damp, the roar of the ocean, so loud that she couldn't even hear her own thoughts. Most of these details she remembered, but only through a milky lens that she couldn't seem to wipe clean, even after all this time. She dreamed of the lighthouse many times, possibly hundreds, and it was always the same dream. She saw the lighthouse down the hill. It called to her. She went to it, descending a dark path of sand and stone. She needed to get there. There was something on the other side. She could hear noises. She started to walk along the curved perimeter of the lighthouse, inching toward whatever was there. And just as she rounded the bend, her eyes shot open and the dream ended. That morning, she was already half awake when her alarm went off. She rubbed her eyes, feeling achy and sticky with sweat. She looked up at the ceiling, wondering how she would be able to peel herself from her mattress and pretend to be normal until it was nighttime again. 10 more minutes, she told herself, remaining in bed and hitting the snooze button on her phone, unable to face the effort required to go about her day, to be someone who wasn't carrying around this memory like a lead weight. She drifted into a hazy delirium, somewhere close to sleep, but not quite there. And she returned to the dream once more, as usual, right where she had left it the night before. Once again, she was there on the beach. The ocean roar grew louder as she approached, and the rushing of the waves and their crashing against the shore made it seem like the entire beach was shaking. The wind whistled through the beach grass and sand, teasing her with whispered secrets. She could feel the mist from the water on her face. She could smell the salt. The lighthouse stood before her, a passive lump of material yet somehow alive at the same time, beckoning her, calling her, pulling her closer. She waited. And then she heard something. But this time it wasn't the familiar noise that she usually heard. It wasn't just the wind and the sounds of the water at night. It was a voice, calling to her. A tiny little voice, tucked away in the corner of the lighthouse's dark shadows. She kept moving forward, and the little voice grew louder, more desperate. Over and over the voice called to her. She moved closer to it, still unable to see the source. Darkness, and more darkness. But the voice continued to escalate. She needed to see it. She needed to keep going. Stepping closer, she approached the voice until it became a scream, a wrenching, metallic scream that was suddenly right before her, echoing through her ears, piercing her heart. And she saw, at last, who the voice belonged to. She stared back. Her eyes opened and she gasped for air. She felt weak. She looked down at her hands as though to make sure she was awake, that this was real. Her hands were shaking. She felt afraid. She'd finally seen what was on the other side of the lighthouse that night. Except how was it possible? It didn't make sense. What she'd seen couldn't be true, she told herself. Because the screams, the little voice, the desperate cry for help that had been haunting her for so long now hadn't come from someone else. They had come from her. What she'd seen on the other side of the lighthouse, finally, was herself. There she was, terrified, lost, hurting, and she was calling out, begging, screaming with all her might. Stop! Stop! Stop!